Hello everyone, low quality again, and basically, but it's been a minute, it's always been a long time when I do these, and today's gonna be a long one. A comment on one of my last videos said they would like me to talk about some of the pairs that are on rotation when I do these videos, and considering that right now we are in our 4th anniversary event, there's a lot of pairs available, so I'm just going to talk about every single type, what I think the health of the type is, and then I have something to bitch about at the end, because of course I do. But of course, welcome back. This is low quality content. We're going over the last 3 Pokemon Masters updates, which are the Galar Villain Arc 1, Galar Villain Arc 2, and the 4th anniversary, which had a lot of units come in. So, great. Oh no. There we go. So, ground rules, I'm doing this from the perspective of a casual new player. I prioritize free units. All of this is my opinion. I'm also no longer ranking these from right to left because at that point it's just getting a little nitpicky and I kind of don't care. And then I don't talk about trainer lodge units. All of those should be up to personal opinion. Pick the character you like the best. And if you want me to talk about the trainer lodge units, I can give my opinion. I just want to see some support for that first. Starting with the bug type, well, for starters, it didn't get any new units, which good or bad, take as is. I don't think we got any repeats, but all in all, I think this is a fairly healthy type. Your best damage dealer being base Lucamine is free. You have a decent free support with Aaron Vespaquin. You have some okay third options. You got Viola Masquerain, who, again, given what's there, not entirely bad. If you don't have Lucamine, these two are pretty okay, but obviously I would much prefer Lucamine, but Guzma, base Berg, definitely serviceable. And if you like Dawn, hey, I believe she's support, so you have a potentially decent support in Dawn Wormadam, but again, trainer lodge pair, so it doesn't count. A lot of the free units, or a lot of the premium units, are, they're definitely more than above average. You have Butler Emmett, Butler Ingo, New Year's Lily, Unova Villain Arc Hilbert. You had this Bugsy Scyther, which was given away for free, which is they just gave away a lot of free pairs, and they gave away basically all the free ones except for Jesse James and this Bugsy, which is weird because this Bugsy is a very good Bugsy. And then you have Champion Alder, or I guess base Alder, but still Champion. So this type definitely has some decent usability, and for free to play players, this is definitely a solid type. I can't recommend Lucamine and Pheromosa enough. So, Bug's in a good state. Moving on to the dark type. Let's talk about the new unit first, which is Team Rocket Admin I wish was better. Recurring theme out of the Rocket admins, a couple of them I just wish were better. A lot of the units from the past 3 I just wish were better. He's a premium unit, so once he leaves the banners, he's not coming back until they rerun it, which is dumb, foreshadowing what I'm about to bitch about at the end of this video. But yeah, I just wish Archer and Houndoom was better. He's one of the new speed units, and honestly, I think all the speed units could be better. I think they're all kind of lame. But let's talk about the type. I think you are in a very good position, Dark type. You have a very solid support that's free in Piers and Obstagoon. You have a very solid damage dealer. Master Royale and Incineroar, Karen and Houndoom aren't half bad. Sydney, Nanu, and Base Grimsley are all... They could be better, but they're serviceable. I think in the case of Grimsley, you know, definitely a little bit gimmicky. In the case of Sydney, he's a dark type, Halloween, Acerola, and Mimikyu. He's fine. Do I think he's top tier? No. Can you definitely build around him? Yes, 100%. And you have a decent array of premium units, as you can see here. Also premium, you have Sawyer and Honchkrow, decent support, and then I do not have Rachel and Umbreon. But decent array of premium units, but I think overall this type is in a healthy state because you can do quite a bit without having to wait for a villain arc or a Neo champion or a Halloween or a festival. So overall, dark type I feel like is in a pretty good state. Moving on to the dragon type. So starting with any new units, we had Leon and Dragapult. He's fine. I feel like a lot of the premium units that have been coming out recently could have been better to more than serviceable. You know, I'm not jumping out of my seat for Leon and Dragapult. I personally did not bother pulling for him. But if you like Leon, you'll definitely... Is he probably better than this Leon? Sure, why not? You know, definitely both of them have their uses, but, you know, in my personal opinion, Cyrus is probably the best. If not Cyrus, then Signasuit Serena are like your best damage dealers for this type. You have a solid support that's free in Drake, and if, you know, I believe Drake is just a 4-star pull, so basic, anybody can get him. Lisia's not half bad. I believe she's a free, quote, free. You do have to pull her, but I mean, she's going to be in every scout. But I mean, that's kind of what I mean by free. But you do have Licia, who can take hits. Zinnia and Rayquaza is a legendary. Battle Point. Claire, I believe, is also in the story. So, I mean, you definitely have some decent options for a free type. So, getting a premium like Signasuit Serena, who I do think is on par with Cyrus in terms of best dragon types. You have your tech setup here with Lucas. So, I think this type is bordering on healthy and unhealthy. Another new unit we got is an actual free unit in Drasna, and she came out with Olympia, and holy shit, she's so much better than Olympia. It's not even close or funny. She is a tech unit with a dragon type, obviously. She has team special attack immunity, so special attack of the entire team can't be lowered. She gets a free move anytime she uses a move that is super effective. She powers up her own super effective moves. She's got Toxic, she's got Draco Meteor, she's got Sludge Bomb, she raises her own special attack and crit, super effective up next. So all in all, she's probably a decent little damage dealer, and honestly, if you want to build a team of these three, that's a pretty solid dragon team. Because she can kind of conserve her own energy by giving herself free move next. When she uses a super effective move, you can really focus on dealing damage with Cyrus and kind of add a little bit with Drasna and not worry about using your energy, lowering your special attack, which applies to Cyrus because he's a special attacker. So I think dragon type's a little bit, not really a little bit suspect, but I mean, it's definitely in a good spot for sure. On to the electric type. New units. I'm going to start with Nimona because she released first. And she's a speed type unit, which means I wish it was better. It's kind of hard for electric types. I will be completely honest with you, and I apologize for the echo. I just moved into a new house. That's part of the reason why this video was late. You know, I'm recording in my office. Not everything's set up yet, but I don't even know how it's gonna go. The problem with electric types, and I actually ended up moving Signitude How down, and I'll talk about him in a minute. The problem with electric types is they have really good damage dealers. I straight up believe that Pika Red is like the best damage dealer in the game. Especially if you pair him with, ironically, one of his best partners in Signitude How. He sweeps. I don't normally do Battle Villa, but I, for the first time, did a Battle Villa run. Hull 30, no full restores, and my team was Pika Red, Signa How, and this Battle Point Lieutenant Surge. Fantastic team. So it's kind of hard for a lot of electric types, especially those that released after Pika Red, to really come in and do anything, right? Like, In Zekrom came out before Pika Red, Marnie Morpeko came out before Pika Red, and both of them get kind of a little bit of a rub because they're both in the Trainer Lodge, which means once a month there's the potential that one of them is on the monthly fair for lodges. You know, you have the chance of Gloria, Raihane, Cynthia, and these two. So, I mean, you have the chance to get those, and plus if you really like Marnie or N, who are both very popular characters, you know, those are kind of staggering the free line a little bit. So it's like, yeah, those are very good because they're a little bit more accessible than the two pairs who have only come around once, and you would think they would rerun them for the anniversary, but no. So it's like you have base Nimona come in, who was premium, by the way, should not have been a premium unit, but I digress. I'll get to that at the end of the video. And she's just disappointing. Like, she should be so much better. There is zero reason to run her over any of the damage dealers in the tiers above her. If you have if you have Ash or Pika Red, right? If you have Marnie Morpeko, there's no reason to run her over any of those. And like the rest of them are supports or accoutrements. Like you run Volkner and Luxray because he sets up electric terrain. You run the rest of them because they're great supports. You know? You can make the case that, yeah, you should run Nimona over Clement, over Hal, over Sophocles and a little Golem, but no, she's disappointing. She's disappointing and flat out just no. Signitude Hal, I said I would talk about him. This is probably the second unit in the game that I really went after and just ended up disappointed with. The other one I still think is at least in the very good tier, but I legitimately believe Signa Hal's best use is as a setup for Pika Red. Because like I mentioned, I made my way all the way to Hull 30, no full restores, with Pika Red and Hal. That really is a tag team because Hal drops electric terrain upon entry. Both he and Pika Red have electric terrain extenders, so you can blow through the entire battles, entire waves of 9 at times, with one electric terrain up from the beginning. And it automatically sets up his Electroweb, it automatically sets up his Volt Tackle. So turn 1, you can just mow. But other than that, like, he does not do enough. Like, outside of setting up for Pika Red, his best use is setting up fairy types. Because he's one of, like, 2 or 3 units that can set up fairy terrain. But, like, he does not do enough damage on his own. And it's disappointing. It really is. Then talking about Neo Champion Blue and Zapdos. Like the rest of the blue supports, he's more than decent, obviously. Raises defense and special defense by 1, applies free move effect next to the user when it's successful. Lowers electric type rebuff, powers up sync moves for everybody, raises speed, has an AoE. Roost is decent, heals all allied sync pairs by 30%, restores users' HP by 30%, removes all status conditions, raises crit rate, raises special attack, special move up next by 2. Definitely a very good support. All the electric types have. The electric type as a whole has a very decent support, and this is a very healthy tier in terms of damage dealers. Yeah, you're kind of looking at a Signasuit at base kit. You're looking at this battle point Sophocles, but I mean they're both serviceable. You can definitely make them both work. Clement could be a fun little option. Like I mentioned, while he is a premium unit, comes around potentially for a month every so often because he's in the lodge and they want to make sure people can get these lodge Pokefair units. But you have a very good battle point support. You have your terrain setup being free. You have 2 very great supports. Insignia, Alessa, base Sonya. If you like Alessa, you could also really make base Alessa work. You know, the electric type is one of the healthier types in the game. There's a lot of good free units, and you're not really forced to get a premium unit to make it work. Although it definitely does help. You know, and that's what I look for in a type. Does it have a healthy balance of free and premium types, and can the type survive on its own without premium units? Which cannot be said for the next 2 types coming up. Starting with Fairy, this is not a healthy type. I don't think so whatsoever. Your terrain is there. Your best damage dealer is premium. You know, you have one of the top 2 supports in the entire game, in Sycamore and Xerneas. You know, fantastic. But outside of that, you have nothing. You have Lily and Clefairy's not a half bad support, but a support. This month we just got Valerie and Mawile, who I think is more than a decent striker, but I honestly think that she's maybe elevated a little bit because in terms of fairy damage dealers, everyone else you have to pay for. You have to wait until summer and premium unit for Summer Marnie, Festival Licia with the Rapidash, Signasuit Wally, which I'll get to later, right? Festival Mina is a setup, right? So decent support, but Signasuit, right? And then your other 2 free damage dealers are not anything to write home about. Like, you get both of them. No, she's a 3-star, and you get this one from the story. But there's no reason to use Valerie and Sylveon when Valerie and Mawile is just better. Alright? But I mean, base Bead is there. I don't remember his kit being particularly good. Champion Diantha, or base Diantha, whatever. You know? Like, this type needs more free units. Desperately. Because your free units are... Sycamore, Valerie Mawile, Lily Clefairy, not even free anymore, but I mean if the event ever comes back, she's a free unit. These 2, and that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plus your Trainer Lodge Lily, who I will admit is more than decent, but again, I don't cover Trainer Lodge fairs. But you have 6 free fairy types. That is disrespectful. And fortunately some of them are really, really good. Again, Sycamore is one of the best supports in the game, but that's still such a small number. And you look at the next type, or fire type, right? Not the next type. But you look at the fire type and it's the same thing there. But let's talk about fighting real quick. This shouldn't take too long. We didn't have any new units, but this type is fairly decent. Maylene is such a good support for this type. Really good. And then you have 2 decent damage dealers in Wally and B. Aura Cynthia's decent support, albeit premium. You have a fighting type zone setter and Hop Zapdos. Cynthia actually also sets up fighting type, so really both of these two are your zone setters, and they're both decently good to build around. Other than that, Brawly and Hariyama I think is maybe a little underrated. Definitely more than serviceable. But I mean, the type as a whole is kind of weak, and it sort of benefits from the fact that it doesn't have a lot of premium pairs. So like, you know, you do have like Battle Point, Cobalion, right? But I mean, in terms of premium pairs, you're only really looking at Costume Guzma, Festival Hilda, these three, right? The rest of them are free. So I mean, there's a lot of free units in this type, so it's kind of hard for it not to be healthy, and you can still do more than well in a fighting type stage without either of these three. So pretty healthy. We go from really healthy to not healthy, in my opinion, with the fire type. As you can see, there is a lot of very good premium units in this type. And technically, like, I count Signusuit Red, Blue, and Green as free because you get one of the three for free. But other than that, like, your best damage dealers outside of any of this tier are like Ho-Oh, who I don't think is that good, and Ethan, who I also don't think is that good. Like, this is probably like one of the worst types in the whole game, and it is 100% because like everything that this type needs to survive or needs to do well is a premium unit, right? Like, Red is a great damage dealer, but if you prefer Blue, that argument could be made that like Signusuit Blue is a much better unit than Signusuit Red. The argument can be made 100%, right? But if you pick Signusuit Blue or you pick Signusuit Leaf, you don't have access to Red. So you're stuck with an Anniversary Inn that hasn't been around in a while, base Leon, who I don't think he's in the Lodge yet, so there's no real repeat for him, right? We just had... It's not Signusuit, it's the Jersey Gloria, who, I'll talk about her real quick. She's fine, right? Like, on her own, she's more than serviceable. Her gimmick is Libero Cinderace, right? Whenever it uses a max move, it changes to that type. It gets a whole new set of passives. I'm not ranking fighting Cinderace or flying Cinderace. It's all kind of going into one, and as a whole, very good but premium, right? But you know, this type just lacks a decent free damage dealer. You have your weather setup for free. Like, Blaine, I think, is an underrated weather setup. It can set up trap. It can boost itself pretty high. Again, it's got Sunny Day. Great. You have not terrible supports, right? I think player character and Torchic's pretty decent. Kawaii and Alolan Marowak. I guess you do have Serena and Delphox as a potential damage dealer. You have from the Battle Point Evelyn and Entei. We did just get Tina in the conclusion of the villain arc kind of story event going on. Roman, can you not do that, please? Thank you. I don't understand why she's premium. Okay, Miss Ma'am. I don't understand why she's premium, personally. She's not, again, I have her as if you have nothing better. Like, if you just start her out and you do a pull for her and Paulo and you get her first try, like, sure, okay. You can use her, I guess, but like, once you get anything, a full team from up here, you should probably not use her. She's not that good. Which then circles back to, why is she premium? But I digress. But yeah, this type is not in a good state. I wish it would get some more free units. in this typing, but it is what it is. Moving on to the flying type. In terms of new units, we have Proton and Summer Liza. I believe that's Liza of the twins. Both of them are very good but premium. Summer Liza, flying Giga Impact, all that good jazz. Proton can just take hits real well. Let me pull up Celestilia's kit. Yeah, it's a flying striker, raises defense by 2, free to move next whenever he uses a status move, which it has iron defense. Already pretty good. Flying Giga Impact, it's got protect, raises accuracy and crit rate. Whenever the user's defense is raised, raise the attack by the same amount, so you can very easily get to +6. So yeah, definitely simple but effective. And then as for Proton, he is a flying support, charges the move gauge by 1 when its move is successful, charges the move gauge by 1 when it's hit by an attack, raises the chance that opponent will attack themselves when confused, raises special attack by 1 stat rank when the user's move is successful. It's got air slash, confuse rate, raises special defense, raises speed, accuracy, crit rate, special moves up 1. That pairs very well with like your Signet Ethan, with your base blue, with this anniversary Skyla. Does it do well with, if you like Nate, you can use base Nate as a damage dealer. I personally don't care for him, but can't really use it with him because he's a physical attacker. Same thing with, I believe, Duroc is physical. So, this type is definitely more of a special type. You can't really use him with Shiny, Rayquaza, and Steven, which is the other pair that I spent too much money on and got disappointed by, if I'm going to be honest. But, for the most part, the type is a special type, so he can really buff the type quite well, and there's a lot of good special attackers in the game that he works with. So definitely a very good unit. Outside of that, this type I think is in a pretty decent place. As I mentioned, or as you can see, you have 2 very good free units. One is the support. Everybody gets a copy of blue for free. So definitely off the bat, I believe you get her through the story, but off rip, you can make 2/3 of a decent flying type team off rip. And then, Falkner. This Falkner's not too bad. We also got this Falkner in this update, but I'm not going to talk about him because he's, should have been better. It's a tech unit that doesn't really do things well. It's kind of a worse version of this Duroc, if I'm going to be honest with you. They both have defog, it's just this Duroc does better. But you get blue, Skyla, if you want to use Winona to set up rain, there's better rain setups, but you could, because Mega Pidgeot has Hurricane, that's an option. But support Swallow, you can do Duroc and Staraptor. You could even really use this Nate as a secondary attacker just to pop with flies. But this type's in a pretty decent state. I don't think you do have your zone set up here, but honestly, I don't know if you need it as much for this type, because you have your damage dealer being very free, and he already hits very hard. And you already have a decent support, so it's like you can make it work without the zone setter. And then for like your attacking pairs in this type, you do have Holiday Rosa, which she helps basically all physical attackers. She especially helps the ice type physical attackers, but I digress. But she's a great support, so this type's in a good place. Moving on to the ghost type, we had one new unit, which was a technically premium but free to acquire zone unit. It is the first zone unit in the game, being Victor and Spectrier. It's fine. That's really all I can say about it. The other zone setter in this game or ghost zone setter is Renegade Cynthia and Giratina, who is not bad. by any stretch of the imaginations as a zone setter, definitely one of the better ghost type units in the whole game. But I mean, this one was free, so if you logged in and got it, it's no skin off your back, and it's fine. It pairs well with the rest of the types. I don't think this type is in a good place. Like, you have a really good support in Phoebe and Dustmore, but all your damage dealers are premium. Like, those are your best 3 damage dealers, and they very easily outclass, like, your base Fantinas, your base Alistairs, you could use, well, I mean, that's even premium, right? Like, you have a decent battle point unit here, and Morty Miss Magius, who I actually prefer over the normal Morty. But this type has basically everything it needs to succeed on a free-to-play level, with the exception of a damage dealer. Like, I just think Alistair is probably being overhyped because he's better than Fantina as a damage dealer, but he's nowhere near as good as Anniversary Lily, Renegade Cynthia, and Signasuit Corinna. So, and this type could use some work and could use a couple more free units, that can at least do something. Moving over to the grass type. Not really a whole lot to talk about. We got 2 new free units, both of whom there's not really a lot to say. They're both kind of just there and underwhelming. Barry is Battle Point, and Mallow was a Variety Scout, so take with that as you will. I mean, the type is in a decent state, You have a very great support. You have multiple very great supports, actually, right? So just to highlight a couple, you have base Dawn, base Shauna, base Lyra, base Rosa, all of them more than serviceable. Very good to decent third options to use for support. And you have 2 very great damage dealers, right? Like, Signa Erica sets up Sun, which definitely makes her the candidate to pair with base Lyra because she has Sun all over her kit. But if you want to use Rosa with Brendan, and then Shauna and base Dawn both work really well with both of these, right? Like, those are just good. Like, Shauna is grass Peters, just straight up. And then Dawn is just a really good support. But I mean, Brendan and Signa Erica are both great damage dealers. Talking about some of the premium units, I think probably one of the best pure tech units in the game is Signasuit Lyra and Celebi. Amazing unit. You have Festival Acerola, you had Adaman, who was decent, Tourist Rosa, Victor and Rillaboom. This type's in a really good state. Just point blank period, grass types. Grass type's always been a solid unit or a solid type in the game, and we did not have a premium grass type unit until I believe Shiny Serena and Sonia. So every unit released before her for the grass type was free. So like your Mallow was before then, Lyra, Shauna. I think Shauna might have been before. You could argue that Signasuit Leaf maybe could be premium, but considering how I count it, I would consider it free. But like Signa Erica, Dawn, all of them were free. So grass is in a really great state. There's not really much to say about it. It's all roses. Moving on to the ground type, let's talk about the new unit first. It is the second zone setter in the game, which is Giovanni and Rhydon. I hate that he has hit the gas. I hate that whole mechanic. I think it kind of makes him worse, but he's probably on par with his other ground type appearance. And that's really it. He synergizes decently well with Sandstorm, so he kind of feels like the obvious choice to pair with like your Bertha, to pair with like your Cynthia if you want to run her as your primary damage dealer. Run with Ingo. But I mean, this type's kind of a little all over the place. I would say it's, even with the premium units, it's kind of on the weaker side. It's one of the types that has the least amount of units in the game. And obviously, all of your big damage dealers are premium. Maxi's premium. Both Giovanni's are premium. Cynthia's premium. You know, at that point, you're kind of hoping that you can get, and you probably can, get the damage out of Courtney and Bertha to really carry you there. But I mean, you do have a decent free support in Nita and Landorus. I know she's a trainer lodge, but Cynthia and Gastrodon are a support. So I mean, you definitely kind of have stuff there to really make it work. But this type as a whole, it's in a weird place because I feel like it just needs more pairs in general, but it definitely needs like a good damage dealer that's free, straight up. Moving over to the ice type. So we have, I forget her name, I think it's like Diana or something, and Reggie Ice, and you have Neo Champion Red. Neo Champion Red's great. I don't really know, there's not much to say. And honestly, he's part of the reason why I didn't want to rank these from left to right anymore, because if he would be at the front. Because I think he just outclasses all of these, and it's not even close. I think, and then you have Reggie Ice up here. Decent support, better than Glacia and Glalie, better than, you know, probably maybe on par with Melanie and Lapras for support. But I mean, this type's in a fine state. You know, you have two zone setters with both Candace's, or sorry, not zone, weather setups with Candace. I believe Irida sets up Ice Zone. Don't quote me on that, but obviously the best hail setup. Nessa's probably second best hail setup, but both are premium. But definitely Frostlass and Abominable Snow Candace can definitely carry their own weight. You have two very good damage dealers in Ghetsis, Kyrium, and Hala Abominable Snow. And really, until Neo Champion Red, you could make the argument that these three are in the argument for best ice type damage dealer. So it's in a fine place, you know. One of these is a legendary, one of these will show up. One of these Hala, I believe you can get from the Alola tickets. So definitely attainable. I think the ice type is in a fine state. It has what it needs to survive without any of these premium units. Moving on to the normal type. Palmer's weird. Palmer's real weird. I'm not quite sure how I feel about him. His kit looks... I mean, it's definitely Regigigas, you know? It definitely has slow start built into it. It can set up its own zone. It hits really hard. But part of the problem is that... Oh, her name was Dan, whatever. But part of the problem is that, like, I feel weird about Giga Impact being a one-use move. Like, I've kind of gone on record more than once that I feel I don't like buddy moves that have a limited use. Especially, like, if it's something that it needs more than once. Like, Normal Zone is great, Crush Grip is great, but, I mean, even then, Crush Grip's not the best. The smaller the target's percentage of HP remaining, the lower the power this attack becomes. So it's kind of... Maybe I have him too high with very good premium, but, you know, he can still set up zone for normal types. It still can do damage. It can do a lot of damage. You know, like every time. So when it has a sync buff, every time it uses a successful attack move, it will give itself physical move up next 3, which is fantastic, right? Especially after a sync buff, but it's like, it's a Regigigas. It's a normal type, and its main move is kind of got defeatist built into it. So I don't know if it'll go up and down, but something to consider. In terms of the rest of the type, you know, normal is always the weirdest type in the game because nothing is super effective to it. But I mean, you have a really good support in Leaf. You have a really good damage dealer in Hugh. If you have Giovanni Persian, who was a limited time free to obtain unit, definitely can make it work. Gladiant's not half bad. It can change his type. So, I mean, another one that probably needs more units before you can judge it, but I think it's kind of in a fine state. And in terms of premium units, like, you have the other top 2, and you can make the argument for not to support in the game in Red Lax. I think, you have a great zone setter. She can set like 3 different zones. And then Steven, I think, should have been a support, personally, because he is a fantastic physical attacker support. But normal's in a fine place. Again, it just, like fighting, like ground, just needs more units. Just straight up needs more units. Poison type. I don't know if the state of this type is very good, to be honest with you. Let's talk about the new units first. And you have Ariana, Petrol, and Oleana. All of them were really good. Oleana had the ability to really shred through stats. Let me pull up her kit real quick. Yeah, so she would she had Venom Drench and could, with her max move, poison all of the opposing sync pairs. So you would use Venom Drench on everybody, and it would lower attack, special attack, and speed by 3 every time you would do it. So really good. Petrol, definitely a decent physical attacker, something that the type needs. Type needs attackers in general, but I digress. Or sorry, special attacker, not physical attacker. But definitely serviceable. Same with Ariana. But this type definitely, it needs more free units. Like, your zone setter is here with Iris, but like all of the poison type units that have come out recently, Emma, Ball Guy, those 3, Agatha and Arbok, right, have all been premium, and on some levels they've all outclassed like the very good free units that the type has. Like, I've never really been the world's biggest fan of Plumeria and Salazzle. And yes, Battle Point Janine is a decent support, but like, I kind of feel like Looker and Lucy are kind of on Plumeria's level and not on like Emma's level or Ariana's level or Petrol's level, So this type needs work. It needs more free units, and it needs more decent stuff. So it's kind of just in the same spot as ground and normal, unfortunately. Moving on to the psychic type. Olympia's fine. She's as fine can be. She's probably a worse version of Bianca. Her gimmick is the stored power. So, like, a better Will, a worse Bianca, because Bianca can set up electric terrain. Other than that, there's not really much to talk about. This type is in a great spot. Great striker. I'm really like, there's your team right there. Or you could swap out Battle Point Mess Spirit for Sabrina. But I mean, you have your striker, you have your zone setter, you have your big support, and you can run double support if you needed to. But I mean, this type's real good. And if you wanted to use like Oak until you get Giovanni, that works. If you really like Siglif is potentially a decent unit. If you have Lear, if you have either of these two, it's all pretty good. Moving on to the rock type. Hi, Paulo. I hate you. So I will try not to get into spoilers too much about the end of the Paulo arc, right? But he belongs in his own tier called deserves to be kicked in the balls. I don't like him. And surprise, surprise, gameplay-wise, he's also not great. He's a speed type unit, so say it with me. Should have been better. I honestly don't think Paulo is even the best Excel Rock user in the game. And I think that's this Lycanroc. He's probably the third best Lycanroc behind these two. And again, there's your free-to-play team right there. You have a very solid support. You have Lear Excel Rock. You have, very solid striker, Lear Excel Rock, very solid support. And then if you want to replace, what's her name? Olivia with Blue, with Princess Hilda, or even replace both of these with Princess Hilda and Signa Diantha, that still works, right? But Paulo's just crap. Like, he only gets 3s, and again, I'm kind of being pushy about it because I believe Kukui gets 9 uses of Excel Rock. Because I believe when he uses his trainer buff, I know he refreshes his quick move uses completely with his trainer move. I just don't remember if he has 1 or 2 uses of his trainer move, but I'll assume 2. That's 9 uses of Excel Rock plus a Lear. Like, I don't like. Legitimately, Paulo could have been better. And like, again, I think part of it is just I don't like his characterization at the end of his villain arc. They should have done something else with him, and I think the Pokemon Company kind of bitched out there at the end. But like, no, he's got a worse Stone Edge than this Lycanroc. He's got a worse Excel Rock than this Lycanroc. Like, his only big thing is like, oh, I can use 3 gauges of bar once to not even fully raise all my stats, which you can do with supports without needing to use a buddy move that only comes back, like, it doesn't come back. You can only use it after a sync move. And it's not like you have, like, yeah, okay, give yourself physical move up next when you use a move with a quick move. So you get 3 physical move up next after you use Excel Rock. Fine. Okay. I guess. Like, I'm not sitting here and saying that it's good. He creates a sandstorm and can protect everybody from the sandstorm damage and extend it. Cool, I guess. Like, whatever. Could have been better. Should have been better. There's no if you have any of these, honestly, if you have any of, not counting Bruno, if you have any of these 6 units, you don't have a reason to use Paulo. There's no reason to use Paulo. Straight up. Every one of those units does something that he can do better. So, that's how I feel about that. The type's in a good state. Again, you have a full free-to-play team. You have a battle point support that's not half bad. Gordy is really more of a fire support than a rock type, but, you know, whatever. Olivia and Cardbank probably should have been better for a rock support. I believe they're rock support, but definitely should have been better. But, I mean, battle point, right? You know, so the type's fine. Again, Kukui, Olivia, and Roxanne definitely kind of carry this type into being fine because you have what you need. So, on to the steel types. We have 3 new ones. No, 4 new ones. Registeel. I'll start with Registeel because it's a battle point unit. Definitely can do its job well. Raises speed when it lands an attack move, which it has a 1-bar Metal Claw, so you can kind of easily raise speed. You know, a status immunity, uses explosion. The real big reason why I like it is it has both potion and mini potion all, plus iron armor, which gives it move gauge acceleration to the field of play and raises user's defense and special defense by 3. It's definitely a solid support. You know, better than Hop and Zamazenta? No, but you can run like Hop, player character, Solgaleo, and player character Registeel and be good. You know, like none of these supports are going to take over Hop for sure, but it's definitely one where you can use a damage dealer, Hop, and this character. But if you have, I'll start with Argenta first. There's no real reason to use. I know I just kind of gassed up player character in Registeel, but Argenta and Skarmory are also really good, especially for physical attackers, which that's what this type is. It has stat share every time it uses so it has stat share with Swords Dance. So basically every time it uses Swords Dance, it raises all units attack by 2. It gives physical moves up next to all ally stat pairs when it uses a status move like Swords Dance, and then raises accuracy by 2 when it uses of all units when it uses a status move like Swords Dance. So definitely, probably, really, I know she's premium, but if you get her, the team is probably Hop plus Argenta plus any. Am I saying her name right? Argenta. Yeah, there's an R there. You know, these two plus whatever damage dealer you have. So, no complaints there. Jirachi, obviously he's no longer on the rotation. I remember him being gimmicky. You know, his whole thing was Doom Desire, which deals, I believe, special steel damage. So definitely gimmicky and definitely something you can play around. I think kind of the bigger steel star to come out of that update was Rose and Caparajah, who definitely, yes, they have hit the gas, who I don't like, but it raises the damage of its own steel type moves, which I do like. Moves never miss. Definitely good. But the one thing where I kind of give it an exception over Giovanni is that he has the Victor and Anniversary in passive of Move Extender, which extends to both his max move and I believe also his trainer moves. But I don't think, hold on. No, sorry. It's for his max move. No. When a move used by a user's Pokemon targets itself or an ally is successful, the target becomes all allied sync pairs. I don't think it works for his trainer move, but basically all of his moves become AoE moves without having the damage nerf of being an AoE move, and then his max moves are all already AoE moves, or all become AoE moves. So, and with his steel max move, he sets up steel spikes, which is not bad. So, I think he's definitely one of the better steel damage type units in the game, up there with, granted, I think Solgaleo got a buff when it was able to go to 6 stars, but I definitely think your top 3, and you can put them in any order, are base Gloria, base Steven, and base Rose. Other than that, the type's fine. Again, you got Solgaleo, you have 3 decent supports that you can build around. Colress is fine. Kimono Grimsley is gimmicky. So, but I mean, you have more than enough to do well with a steel type free-to-play team. And then our last type before I get to bitching is water. Ironically, this is the type with the most units and the type that had no new units. So that's fun. I mean, this type is in a healthy state. Obviously, you have Signasuit Blue, but I mean, even without Signa Blue, you still have your Rain, you still have 2 decent damage dealers, 3 decent damage dealers if you count May, because May is arguably the best damage dealer out of these 4. Right? Well, these 3. You have a decent physical support if you want to run Nessa or base Chris. Obviously, like, Archie's probably better than most of those. This group, maybe you could argue, but I mean, like, usable support. I maybe slept on Misty and Vaporeon a little too much, because if you saw my water high score event, it kind of carried after my Kyogre went down. So, definitely usable, gimmicky but usable, and maybe this, if you have nothing better, should become gimmicky but usable. But I mean, that really only pairs to, like, Signa Grimsley. But, this type is in a decent place. It did just get a big influx of decent damage dealers, like your, I believe actually this Serena is a support, but a decent support, decent damage dealers, decent damage dealer. You know, this type is fine. This type is fine. You know, there's a lot of health here, right? You have good free-to-play units. The premium units do add stuff, but don't make the type unusable. And that's kind of what I want to complain about, where I think there's too many premium units that should have been free. Like, it is a problem, right? Like, and I'll go back and kind of highlight some of my biggest examples, but let me find one that has some more black space here. But I have criteria for which units should be premium, right? And it's based off of precedent started when the game first started, right? And there's 2 exceptions to this rule. But for the premium units, it should be a champion, right? Or a legendary Pokemon, or a unit tied to an event or a holiday. So what I mean by event is anything like the costume events, that counts. The villain arcs count as an event. The summer, Valentine's, winter, Easter, that counts as a holiday. That should all be premium. If you have a legendary unit like Zacian, or if you're a champion like Steven, that's premium. The only 2 exceptions to this rule, which were made at basically the very beginning, are red and blue. Blue should always be free, red should always be premium. If it is not any of these 3, and there is a big override here, if it is the base look of any of these, and it is not a champion, not a legend, and even being a base look of a character overrides this. I think Rose and Copperajah should be free. Straight up. Because it is the base look of a character who is not a champion, and does not have a legendary. I get that it's tied to a villain arc, should still be free. Alright? Argenta should be free. Right? These 2 should be premium. Steven is a champion. Gloria has Zacian, right? If we go back to water, right? All of these, right? She was given away for free, so she doesn't count, right? But you could make the argument that she should be premium, or she should be free all the time, but again, given away for free. But like you look here, right? Lysander and Volcanion, legendary, mythical, kind of same boat, tied to a villain arc, makes sense. Summer Gloria, legendary. Neo Champion, which counts as champion. Neo Champion, legendary, legendary, legendary. If we move on to, I don't think there's any legendaries down here. This Octillery was the first winter one, so tied to a holiday, right? You look at Steel, I've already mentioned Steel, right? Tied to a holiday. But like Rhyhane should be free. Rhyhane should not have been premium at all. Not a champion, doesn't have a legendary. Not honestly, and if I were to rank him, he would probably be like in this area, right over here. Like I would not put him in the very good tier. So why is he premium, right? And like looking, and like these 2, right? Not legendary, not champs, but they are tied to a costume event, tied to a holiday, right? We go to rock types, right? Paulo should have been free. I hate his guts, but Paulo should have been free, right? Ingo and Emmett, right? I'll highlight Ingo when I get there. Emmett should have been free, straight up. This blue should have been free because the other blue was free, right? And again, yes, a champ, but he's the exception to the rule, not a legendary. These 2 mythicals tied to a villain arc or a costume event, right? We go to the psychic types, like legendary and tied to a villain event, legendary, right? Legendary, holiday, villain event, right? Makes sense, healthy type. But we go over to poison, all of these should have been free. She should have been free. She should have been free. All of those should have been free. These are base looks of characters without legendaries. And yeah, Oleana, villain arc. As I mentioned over here, base overrides this. If it is the base look for a character that is not a champion or has a legendary, it should be free even if it's tied to a villain arc. Oleana should have been free. But all the Rocket admins should have been free. Ball Guy should have been free. Emma should have been free. Jesse and James, I know that they're weird with the anime characters, should have been free, right? And I do not like this trope of the variety scouts because it is adding premium units that are kind of dog shit, right? Like, there hasn't been a variety scout unit, which I guess technically, like, the Rocket admins are variety scouts. So excluding the Rocket admins, there hasn't been a variety scout unit that has been good. They've all been kind of mediocre to dog shit. And I'll stand by that. Like, they've been mediocre to dog shit. So, like part of the reason Poison's in a bad state is because they made so many base looks of characters premium. And it's not the only time they do that. Like, Annabelle and Snorlax should have been free. Not a champion, not a legendary, and I don't even remember if it was tied to a villain arc. I feel like it was just tied to like a story event, which does not count as like a holiday or like a costume event. Story, because they used to have like, they had story events for, where's Bug, right? They had a story event for the Alola family. They had a story event for this Alessa. They had a story event for this Hilda, right? So having a story event for a character does not count for it being premium, right? But you look at the rest of the premium units, legendary, holiday, costume, red, right? Holiday. So that, you know, that's where that is, but, you know, villain arc, Arida should have been free. Silver and Sneasel should have been free. Holiday should have been free. Neo Champion. Holiday. Right? So, like, these two should have been free. And they're popular characters. And, like, I really am going to bitch about this for, like, Grass and Fairy. Because why was Victor premium? All of the Galar characters have this problem. Why was Victor premium? Victor should not have been premium. I get it, he's a main character. He has a starter. He's not a champion. And considering how well they've treated Gloria, you could argue he's the third most important of the rival triangle. Why is he premium, right? Adamant should have been free. Not a champion, not a legendary, not tied to a costume or holiday event. You know? I mentioned this, you know, this Mallow is not that good, right? Like, yeah, you know, holiday event or costume event, villain arc, and a legendary, right? I skipped ground, but I mean, Giovanni, this Giovanni maybe should have been free with the rest of the Rocket admins. This one is at least tied to a villain arc story, and it's not his base look, right? But champion, costume event, should have been free. You know, and you go through these types, and you look at the ones that should have been free, and the types that have a lot of units that should have been free because they're the base look of characters without legendaries, without being a champion. And you look at some of the worst types in the game, and they overlap. Like, ground is a shit type. It's in a bad place, and it has 3 units that should have been free. Straight up. You look at normal type, right? You look at poison type. Like, normal just needs more units, but I mean, it's decent. But, like, you look at the poison type, it's in a bad state when you had 6 to 7 units that should have been free because they're the base looks of characters. And if you want to take out Jesse and James, fine. That's still 5 characters that have base looks that people cannot get their hands on. So you're kind of stuck with not. I know I have them very good, but that's very good in comparison to the rest of the poison types, which are crap. You know, like Psychic's in a decent place. Like, yes, Giovanni shouldn't be free, but he's in a legendary event. You know, like that was an event you had to do that everybody could do. It was still tied to an event, right? And then yeah, you know, Grass is in a great state, but like because it only has 2 units that maybe should have been free in the whole type. You look at Ghost type, right? Like, and Ghost type's really kind of the one that stymies me a little bit, because I feel like Karina should be free, even though it follows my rules. So like, I will not say she should be free because I would prefer to have standards that are followed. But like, you know, because she's got a legendary. Well, that's fine. She's premium, right? Lily is tied to an anniversary with a legendary. Renegade Cynthia has a legendary and is a champion, right? But like, so like this is probably the one exception to the whole deal about if you have a lot of units that should be free, that correlates to how bad of a type you are. This is probably the one exception to the whole thing, because you have legendary, champion, legendary, Halloween, costume, and costume. I believe that's New Year's. Actually, not costume, but still. You know, you look at the flying type. Anniversary, champion, legendary. Summer, right? Tied to a story event, legendary. Winter, anniversary, and legendary. Winter, legendary, New Year's, Christmas. But I mean, flying's in a great type, and it doesn't have a single premium unit that should have been free, with the exception of Proton and Golbat. One type, or one unit, great types in a great place. Fire type, right? Legendary, champion, legendary, tied to a villain event, limited time, champion and legendary, tied to a villain arc, but I could argue, the argument could be made that this Gloria should have been free. Like, I get it's tied to a villain arc. It's not the base of a character, but I will say for her, the argument could be made for being free. The argument could be made, especially given the health of the fire type, where you have, if you don't count her, you have no other good type that should be free, because red is the exception to everything. Red should always be premium, right? Tina should have been free. She's dog crap. She should have been free, right? This Kawaii should have been free. This Lucas should have been free. We'll get to the other Lucas in a minute, right? Champion, legendary. I count Ultra Beasts as legendary. You know, they're definitely in that tier, but to me, and also, even if you don't count them as legendary, costume event, right? Festival, right? All of the premium units here should have been premium. And you look at Fairy, one of the worst balanced types in the game, right? Should have been free, right? Champion, holiday, summer, or that's, yeah, Palentine's, I think that's a festival, right? Easter, free to obtain, Palentine's, I believe, legendary, New Year's. This Wally should have been free. He had his own story event, but he's not tied to, like, he wasn't tied to a costume event. He wasn't tied to a holiday. The story event was, hey, here's Signusu Wally. Should have been free. Straight up. And with that, if you had Bead as free, right? Like, if you had free and free, right? So he would move up here. He would maybe move into, like, here or here. This type doesn't look so skewed towards premium, right? You have like an actual team you can make where you have a decent damage dealer that you don't have to do battle points for. You have, I don't even remember his kit, but you have another option besides a support Lily or the Trainer Lodge Lily. Like, you have options. You know, you have things you can do. You at this, it's like you're running Sycamore. You only, I know for other types it's like you only have the 3, but it's like this type as it stands right now, if you're a free to play player, is Sycamore and things to take hits for Sycamore. That's it. And the electric type, right? Like, Marnie should not have been premium. Marnie should have been free. But it comes back to, why did they keep doing this for Galar? Going down here, this Alessa should have been free, not a champion, not a legendary, not tied to an event, and also all the other the Signasuit Alessa and base Alessa were free to begin with, so that should have been free, tied to a holiday. Nimona should have been free, especially because she's underwhelming. But I mean, like, even without that, not tied to a villain event, not a champion. I guess kind of a champion, but like, champion rank is different than champion, because if you ask anybody who's played Scarlet and Violet or the internet, they'll tell you the champion of Paldea is not Nimona, it's Gita. Gita would be premium. Nimona should not be premium. She's champion rank, but not the champion, right? Chris and Jolteon should have been free. I mean, Ash is a special occasion because that was tied to the anime, and then Red should have been premium. So like, those ones should have been premium, but like Marnie, Nimona, and then this classic Alessa. I'm guessing this is black 1, white 1. Alessa should have been free. Dragon type, it's in a fairly decent state. Legendary villain arc, champion, legendary champion villain arc, and even more so than the argument could be made for Jersey Gloria, who is not a champion, not a legendary. Leon's at least a champion, and then Mallow was Palatine's, right? Yeah, I don't like the Variety Scout, but Lance is considered a champion, right? And then this was a anniversary thing, so, you know, like, the Dragon's in a decent spot, and it kind of has, like, okay, all of the premium units that are here should be premium. They should be behind a wall because they have legendaries, they have champions, right? Those are the things that you should pay for. You shouldn't pay to be able to use a fucking Dragonair or a Palmont, right? When you have to pay to use a Zekrom or a Zapdos, or to use a champion like Red, or to use someone like Diantha, right? Like, I know I have her down here, but you know, and Dark type, Neo champion, costume event, Halloween, festival summer event, Neo champion, legendary plus villain event, Halloween, should have been free, right? Like, small number in comparison to some of the other ones around, but like, all of the very good premium units were not units that should have been free, that are just like, oh, here's the base look of a not champion with a not legendary that we're just gonna hide behind a paywall. And like, look at bug type, right? Champion, limited time release, so I'm not worrying about that. New Year's, costume, legendary plus villain arc, costume, and that's really all of the premium there, right? So it's like, it's frustrating, right? Because we're getting all these units, and especially ones that should have been free, like the Rocket Variety Scout, like all these other Variety Scouts we've been getting, like Nimona, that should have been free, and they're not coming out as good. And It's frustrating. It's frustrating because before Drazna and Olympia, like the last, like it's been a while since we've had a free unit since those two. I could not tell you actually when the last free unit was before those two. And we've had so many updates with just premium units. Like we go back further than this, right? The update with the costume update, right? The festival or the detective costume update, right? Shauna was premium, Steven premium, Lyra premium, Zinnia premium, right? All of those should have been premium, right? And then you had 2 variety scouts. Next update, right? Variety Scout Agatha, Variety Scout Lance, Signet Suit for the 4 Tabus, right? Okay, those should have been premium. Makes sense, right? But that's still two updates in a row now that all of them were premium. Adam and Leafeon should have been free, right? But wasn't. But so premium. Usween and Suicune, or Usain and Suicune, premium. Irida and Glaceon should have been free. Signasu, Silver, and Sneasel should have been free, but they weren't, so that's another 3 straight units with no free units. Or 3 straight updates with no free units other than Trainer Lodge or Battle, not even or Battle Point. It's just just Trainer Lodge. So it's like, oh, spend time in the Trainer Lodge, here's your free unit. And it's like, that's not healthy. Especially when you're hiding Trainer Lodge units behind the lodge, Like, I'm guessing at some point we'll get Irida and Adaman in the lodge, but, like, when is that going to happen? Where's the grass type, right? At some point I assume we'll get Adaman and Irida in the lodge, but, like, when? When is that, or not in the lodge, in the rotational Poke Fair, right? Like, when is that going to happen? Then the beginning of this video with the Galar events, the Galar Arc Part 1 didn't have a single free unit. It had 2 Variety Scouts, a Trainer Lodge for a Master Fair unit, and then Seasonal and Poke Fair, which the 2 Poke Fairs, Rose and Oleana, should have been free. And then Drazna and Olympia came in the Villain Arc Part 2. So we've had at least 6 months, because the Villain Arc was the August update, I believe. So 6 months before, 6 updates before Villain Arc Part 2, before we got an actual Spotlight Scout, before we got an actual free unit. It's frustrating, right? Because you're going to be missing. These units should be free because you want people to play. You want people to want to spend money on the good units, and you don't have that by flooding the good units with crap, right? Like, you don't want to have, like, oh, here's just random shit that shouldn't be there. I'm just frustrating and I'm rambling. Obviously, I mentioned I was going to bitch about this because it frustrates me to no goddamn end that all of these are fairs or variety scouts when they should be Spotlight Scouts. They should be in the base pool. And if you're worried about clogging up the base pool of units, you have the Ticket Scout. Take the old units. Take, like, your what are some examples of units you could take out? Take out Dawn. Take out Lyra. Take out Signa Erica. Take out Mallow. Take out Serena and Decidueye. Take out... I need 5 stars specifically for this. Take out Phoebe and Dusknoir. Take out Morty and Drifloon. Take out Fantina. You know, take out these old 5-star units that have been free for a long time and make them exclusive to the Ticket Scout, because the tickets are free to earn. And they're already all there anyways, and people can earn the tickets through just playing the game. Like, those are free-to-play units, and instead of clogging up the scouts, you can have more spotlight scouts for these units that should be free, and then, you know, these older units which have been power crept out of existence, because Grass is a bad example, but like Mallow's not that good. You know, you look at the electric type wherever it is, right? Like, this Alessa has definitely been power crept out. Clement has been power crept out. I'm looking for other ones, right? So it's like, you can take these units out of the pool, so we're not having like a 0.02% to get a random unit that, you know, is as old as the game is, right? Like, I believe you can still get, and don't quote me on this because I haven't bothered to look, but I believe you can still get this blue from when you pull from any banner, you can still get this blue. He was the first scout that the game offered. He is literally as old as the game itself. You can take him out of the pool. You can add more 3 and 4 stars into the game, right? Which is another thing they should do, is add a lot more 3 and 4 stars, because everybody has every 3 and 4 star probably at 5 of 5 by now, unless you've just started, right? It's baffling. It's stupid, and it's just making it. I mean, probably, you know, it's like you make more money if it's harder to pull the new units. I get that, but like, if you rotate it out, you know, you'll deter if it's hard to pull a new unit, you'll deter people from spending their money and their gems on units that are like not worthwhile, which they have been making a lot of units that have not been worthwhile, you know? Like, you look at the electric type, right? If you spent your money on Ash or Pika Red, right? Why would you buy any other electric premium unit? Why? You already have the best two. And like, I know I prefer to make monotype teams, so like when you have a potential new terrain setter, a new support, that kind of interests me. But there are people who play the game, and probably more people that play the game this way than the way I play it, that will just use any type of support because it's a support, right? Like, I know I prefer the monotype team, but like, I have no reason to get a damage dealer electric type, because there will not be one that is better than the one I already have. And you know how you fix that? You offer them for free. Let me have the chance to accrue them over time, right? Like, it may take a while. Like, it took me forever to get Gladian, right? But I eventually did get him for free. I just got Colress as well, right? But I got him for free. And they're not like the most outstanding units of the game, but I got them for free, and I'll give them a shot, and I'll build them up. But like, you know, and I guess it comes back to, you know, why I'm proving their point. Why would they waste money on mediocre pairs? But it's like, why would I waste money on somebody like, where's the fairy type? Why would I waste money on somebody like Bede, who does not have a good kit? Why would I waste money on somebody like Marnie? Why would I waste money on someone like Raihane, who are needlessly premium and not good? And that's it. I've kind of bitched my way out of this one, and it still made me so mad. But if you like this video, if you agree, leave a comment, like, subscribe. I'm trying to get new, and I guess there's something I will talk about, because I am going to get the Electric High Score event out. So this is a handy little guide for that, and I'll kind of do a little bit of my spiel over this. I'm going to get the Electric High Score event out. I'm going to get the Neo Champion Hop run out. I only have 14 of those pairs instead of 15, so I'm trying to think of how I want to handle that, but I digress. Who am I planning to use, actually? I'll kind of talk a little bit about this. I think the 5 damage dealers you're going to use are obviously Pika Red. I think I'm going to try to use Marnie Morpeko. I don't have her max. I think I'm going to use this Base How, Battle Point Sophocles, and Zekrom. Yeah. I think those are the 5 I'm going to build around. So, it'll be interesting, but those 2 videos will be coming out soon. Probably not going to have a lot of time to do a lot because, I'm still trying to unpack into the house, but one thing I really do want to do is more playthrough videos. I'm kind of on the fence about how I want to handle it. I think the only time I'll do commentary is if I go through a sports game, because otherwise you're going to be watching me make trades and all that in silence for far too long, and I can't do music on those because it's all copyrighted crap. I don't want to give other people money because I don't like other people, don't like other corporations or YouTube like that. So, I think if it's a game like an Assassin's Creed or like a Pokemon or any of that, I'll probably just do it without commentary, even if I do it in parts, unless somebody says otherwise. Unless y'all want to hear me talk over games, which I don't care either way, but I want to do more gameplay videos. Please go watch the South Park Stick of Truth gameplay if you haven't done it yet. For some reason, the Canadian national anthem got copyright claimed, and I'm not going to fix it because I don't care like that, but, definitely go check it out, and then I'll leave on the Psychic tier list because, like I said, we have the Hop Neo Champion Stadium, and they're all weak to Psychic, so this may be good advice if you're trying to look for who to have. I think I'm probably going to do, I have this Steven, I have this Lucamine, I have this Mewtwo, so that's 3. I have Leer, so I'll probably use him. I'll probably actually do this Mew. Either Mew or Kalen will be the last one I build around. So, it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to building both teams. But, if YouTube spill. If you liked what you saw, give it a like. If you disagree, give it a comment. I greatly appreciate comments. I read them all. And I appreciate the praise and the constructive criticism. This is all my opinion, but if you lay your argument out well, I'll look into it, and you may even change my mind. Like, I had a comment about this Ghost 3-way up here about which one was better and all that, and then I also had somebody try to argue that Clay was better than Hapu. One of those was well constructed and I still remember it, and the other was borderline a shitpost. So, I still remember it, but I also remember that dude being a clown. But, like, subscribe, all that stuff. I'm not the most consistent. YouTube is definitely a hobby for me, and I'm just trying to help people with this game. A lot of what's out there is more catered to whales, and the assumption that you're gonna go buy everything at every given moment, and I'm really trying to provide an alternative to that, which is like, hey, if you're somebody like me who's not gonna spend a lot of money on this game, or somebody like my wife who really is not gonna spend money on this game, what can you do? When should you spend your gems? Who should you spend your gems on? And I know I make these tier lists every quarter, but I do hope that these videos help, and I would love to do. I want this channel just to be stuff that like I enjoy doing. I kind of burnt myself out of the tier list doing them monthly, so it's like I really want to branch out and do, like, I really want to do sports content. That's gonna be hopefully coming up soon. I kind of have some plans for that. Definitely want to do gameplay content because I have an immense backlog of games. Like, I probably have more games that I have not played on my shelf than I have, but this is about 90 minutes long, and the last minute's going to be garbage, so, drive safe, everyone, and I hope I'll see you on the next one.
Take care.